You ever grow up somewhere so small that you can't even sneeze without 3 people asking if you've caught something? That was Mill Creek, Oregon. Population 972, give or take whoever got fed up and left that year. It's tucked between the mountains and the forest. No malls, no theaters, not even a single stoplight. Just a diner, a gas station, a post office, and the one thing that bound everyone together: Mill Creek Radio. 92.3 FM. The station was run by a guy named Russell Dean, a Vietnam vet who lived in an old trailer up near the ridge. He broadcasted out of what looked like a converted shed, half studio, half junkyard. Every night he'd play old country songs, local weather reports, and stories people called in to share. Lost pets, birthday announcements, even old ghost tales from around the creek. It wasn't fancy, but in a town where the nights were long and silent, Russell's voice was the heartbeat of the place. Until the night it stopped. It was November of 2011, the night of the storm. I was 17, grounded for sneaking out with a boy from the next county. My mom had confiscated my phone, so the only entertainment I had was that dusty little radio in my room. Around 10 o'clock, the rain was coming down sideways, thunder shaking the windows. Then Russell's voice came through the static. But something was off. He sounded nervous.
Evening, folks. Power's still out across most of town, but we're running on backup here. If anyone's out there, stay safe. And if you can see the light near the water tower, please call in.
I remember sitting up. What light? A few seconds later, the phone lines opened. I could hear the faint ring and Russell picking up. First caller said they saw it hovering above the water plant, like a big spotlight, but no sound. Second caller swore it was moving toward town. Russell kept trying to calm people down, but his voice got shakier with each call.
If you're outside, please go home. Something's not right about this.
I thought it was some weird radio stunt. Russell was old, but he had a dark sense of humor. Still, he didn't sound like he was joking. At 10:34 p.m., I heard it, this faint sound in the background of the broadcast, like breathing, wet, ragged breathing. Then Russell said,
We've just received an alert from the sheriff's office. Correction, used to be the sheriff's office. They said there's been an incident up near the water plant. Stay indoors. Do not.
And the signal cut. When the storm cleared the next morning, half the town was buzzing about what they'd heard. Some said it was a gas explosion at the plant. Others said it was lightning striking the tower. The sheriff told everyone it was just generator interference. But within 48 hours, 3 people went missing. First, Mark Fallon, the night guard at the water plant. Then Mrs. Evers, who lived right by the radio tower. And then, most unsettling of all, Russell Dean himself. His trailer was found with the generator still running. The microphone light was still glowing red, but the chair was empty. After that night, no one could get 92.3 FM to play anything but static. Except at 10:30 p.m. every night. You'd tune in and hear breathing. Sometimes it was slow and steady. Other nights it sounded frantic, like whoever it was, whatever it was struggling. Once in a while, a whisper would slip through the static. My mom said it was probably the wind, but one night I swear I heard a voice say my name. A few years later, after I'd moved away for college, I came back to visit my mom for the holidays. She still lived in that same creaky house, and that same little radio sat on the kitchen counter. I hadn't thought about Mill Creek Radio in years, so as a joke I turned the dial. 92.3. Static. And then Russell's voice.
If you're hearing this, don't look outside.
The lights flickered. The whole house went dark. The air felt thick, like the kind of pressure you feel before a thunderclap, And I swear, I heard someone walking on the porch. Slow, dragging footsteps. When the power came back, the footsteps stopped. The radio was silent again. The next morning, I told Mom what I'd heard. She just looked pale and said she hadn't heard a thing. But as she turned to make coffee, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Her left ear was bleeding. She said it had been ringing all night, like someone was whispering inside it. And when I stepped outside, I realized something even worse. Every house on our street had their antennas raised again. Some of them hadn't worked in years, but now they were all standing straight, pointed toward the ridge. A week later, I left town again. I tried not to look back. But about a month later, I got curious and checked the census records online. Mill Creek's population was listed as 847. No official statement. No obituaries, just population adjustment. And a weird little footnote at the bottom. Community communications under restoration. Frequency 92.3 megahertz, active for internal use only. Internal use only. Last summer, I drove through Oregon for work. I wasn't planning to go anywhere near Mill Creek, but my GPS rerouted me through it during a storm. When I saw the town sign, all faded and bullet-pocked, I figured I'd stop for gas. The streets were empty. No dogs, no lights, no people. But when I turned off the engine, I realized something. Every house still had a radio antenna. And from inside one of the windows, I heard static, faint but steady. So I turned on my car radio. 92.3 FM. Static at first. Then breathing. Then Russell's voice, calm and close, like he was sitting right next to me.
We're still here, but don't look outside.
And that's when I saw movement in the rearview mirror. A pale face, mouth open, eyes black, leaning in from the back seat. I floored it. Didn't stop until I hit the interstate. I called the state police later, said there was something wrong in Mill Creek, but they told me the town was evacuated years ago. Said the radio tower was dismantled after toxic contamination. Funny thing is, if you drive past that ridge today, you'll still see the red light blinking. And if you tune your radio just right, you'll hear a faint whisper between the static. It says,
"This broadcast never ended."
You ever notice how some towns seem to go quiet too early? Like the whole place just powers down when the sun hits the trees? That's Elder Hollow, Virginia. Population 1,042. A speck between the Blue Ridge Mountains where folks keep their porches painted, their yards tidy, and their doors locked right before sundown. When I first drove in, I thought it was just small town habits. But then I realized it wasn't a habit. It was a rule. Back in 2016, I got a job as a field technician for a power company. We'd go around checking transformers in rural counties, make sure nothing was on the verge of exploding. Elder Hollow was on my list for a quick inspection. One day, in and out. At least, that's what I thought. The first weird thing I noticed was how the gas station closed at 4:45 p.m. Not 5, not 6. 4:45. When I asked the cashier about it, she looked around before answering.
"You'll want to be done before the bell rings,"
She said quietly. The what? I asked.
"The bell. From the church. You'll hear it at sundown. Don't be outside when it rings.
I thought she was joking. She wasn't smiling. That evening, I was parked near the town's water tower checking some meter readings. I had about an hour of daylight left, maybe a little more. The air was still. No birds, no wind. Just that thick, heavy silence that makes you feel like something's watching you. Then, off in the distance, I heard it. A church bell. 4 long chimes. Then nothing. Within seconds, every porch light in town clicked off. Curtains drew shut. And then, all the power cut out. I figured a breaker tripped, so I called it in to dispatch. But my radio just spat static. No signal. No bars. When I looked back toward town, I noticed something moving between the houses. At first I thought it was fog, but fog doesn't move like that, fast and low, like water crawling uphill. And inside it, I could see shapes. Dark silhouettes bending wrong, like their joints were on backward. Then, as one of them passed under a street lamp, I realized something awful. They weren't shadows. They were people. I jumped into my truck and tried to start it. Nothing. The ignition just clicked, the dashboard dead. Every window on Main Street had gone completely black. And then, from the fog, I heard whispering. Not words, just the sound of mouths moving, teeth scraping. That's when I saw someone walk out from the fog toward my truck. She looked normal. A woman in a long gray dress, barefoot, hair dripping wet. She stopped right in front of the headlights, staring through the windshield. Then she smiled. And I swear to God, her eyes were white as chalk.
You're still awake,
she said. Her voice didn't come from her mouth. It came from everywhere. The radio, the air vents, the static.
Go to sleep before it takes notice.
Then she pointed toward the church steeple. And standing on top of it, silhouetted against the last bit of orange sky, was something massive. It looked like a person, but its arms dragged almost to the roof. And its head was tilted, like it was listening. When it turned toward me, the fog moved with it. I don't remember starting the truck. I just remember driving until the lights came back on. When I reached the county highway, my phone buzzed again. The clock said 6:04 p.m. I had lost almost an hour. The next morning, I went back with another crew to check the power lines. All the readings were normal, but every single house in town had blackout curtains nailed to the windows. When I mentioned the outage to the mayor, he smiled too politely. "No outage here, son. Everything runs fine after dusk, if you know how to behave." Then he leaned in close enough for me to smell his breath. "Don't come back after dark." That night, back at my motel 15 miles out, I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number, just one sentence. "You stayed awake too long." The lights flickered, and from somewhere outside I heard it. The bell. 4 chimes. The motel power cut out, and through the window I saw that same fog rolling across the parking lot. Next morning I checked out early and left Virginia. When I filed my report, my supervisor said there was no town called Elder Hollow on our service map. I looked it up later. Elder Hollow was real, but it was abandoned in 1979 after a mine collapse poisoned the groundwater. Population? 0. But if you drive through that valley near dusk, you'll still see lights come on, curtains close, and if you listen carefully, you'll hear that bell ring 4 times. for every soul that refuses to sleep. They say there are places on this earth that were never meant for people. Pine Haven Lake is one of them. You'll find it in northern Maine, up where the roads thin out and cell service dies. It's a stretch of pine forest and fog that looks beautiful in photos, like something off a travel magazine. But no camera captures how quiet it really is. Too quiet. I learned that the hard way. Back in the summer of 2018, I was working for the forestry department as a seasonal surveyor. My job was pretty straightforward: take soil samples, check water quality, and file reports. When I got the assignment for Pine Haven, I remember asking my supervisor if there was even anything left up there. He said, "Just a lake and a few old cabins. Locals call it peaceful." He didn't tell me the rest. The drive up took almost 5 hours. Once I turned off the highway, the GPS went blank. The trees closed in tight, and even the air felt heavier. When I finally reached the sign, it was half buried in moss. The letters were so faded you could barely make them out. "Welcome to Pine Haven, a quiet place to live." The sheriff was waiting for me when I rolled into town. Sheriff Barlow, big guy, built like a bear, beard down to his chest. He greeted me like he'd been expecting me for years instead of hours. "You're the new surveyor," he said. "Listen here, son. Do your work, but don't be out after sundown. And if you see ripples on the water when the air's still, walk away." I laughed, trying to keep it light. "You make it sound like the lake's alive." He didn't smile. "It is." The town itself was small, maybe a dozen cabins, a diner, an old bait shop that looked like it hadn't sold anything since the 80s. But the strangest thing was the sound, or the lack of it. No birds, no bugs, no wind. Just this soft pressure in the air, like being inside a giant ear that was waiting to listen. At the diner, the waitress looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. I asked how many people lived around the lake year-round. She said,
402.
Then she leaned closer and whispered,
That's including the ones under the lake.
That night I stayed in a state-owned cabin near the shore. It was old but clean, with a wood stove and a single light that buzzed like a trapped fly. Sometime after midnight I woke up. At first, I thought it was thunder, but it wasn't. It was humming, low, steady, coming from beneath the floorboards. When I stepped outside, the whole lake was glowing, this deep, sickly green, pulsing from below the surface like a heartbeat. The water was dead calm, not a ripple, not even a mosquito. I pulled out my phone to record it, but the moment I hit record, the screen went black. Just static. And then I heard something else. Voices. Distant, muffled, like people whispering underwater. The next morning, Sheriff Barlow showed up again. "You saw it, didn't you?" I nodded. "Then it's too late," he said. "It knows you now." He told me Pine Haven Lake used to be a mining quarry back in the 1950s. There'd been a collapse, a sinkhole that swallowed 24 workers, a busload of school kids, and half the main street. They tried to recover the bodies. None came back. The divers, the workers, everyone who went down there. Gone. They filled the crater with water, hoping to bury the tragedy. But they didn't bury it. They fed it. That evening, I met a girl at the cabins across the lake. Her name was Riley. She was a caretaker for the old summer camp on the far shore. When I told her what the sheriff had said, she just nodded.
He's right. You shouldn't have stayed the night.
She told me she'd been hearing the humming for weeks, but that sometimes it came with something else. Singing.
It sounds like children,
She said.
but they're under the water.
Then she told me about the footprints. A few nights before, she'd gone to the dock after dark and saw someone standing waist deep in the water. A kid, she thought. Small frame, pale skin. When she called out, the figure turned, but its reflection didn't move. Then, right in front of her, it split in two, like something inside it had unfolded. Riley ran back to her cabin and locked the door. In the morning, she found wet footprints leading up her porch steps and stopping right outside her window. The next night, the humming came back. Only this time it was louder. The walls shook. The glass in the lamp rattled. And out on the lake I saw them, dozens of people standing in the shallows, all facing the same direction. At first I thought it was a dream, but when I shined my flashlight toward the dock, I saw Riley standing among them. Her hair was dripping, her eyes glowing, and when she spoke, it sounded like multiple voices overlapping.
It remembers the ones who disturb it.
Then she smiled and stepped backward into the water. She didn't come back up. I ran for the sheriff's office, but when I got there, it was empty. The radio was still on, the coffee still steaming, and on the bulletin board behind his desk was a map of the lake. Red pins dotted the shoreline. Each pin was labeled with a name and a date. The most recent one said, Riley, June 12th, 18. Right below it, someone had already added another label. S. Thomas, June 13th, 18. That was me. By morning, the whole town was gone. No people, no vehicles, no sound. Just water. When the rescue chopper finally arrived, the pilot said there was nothing there but trees and a flooded basin. No cabins, no diner, no roads. Just a crater filled with dark water. They found my truck near the tree line, door open, keys still in the ignition. The only thing inside was my field notebook, completely blank except for one page, written in damp black ink that smeared when you touched it. We sleep beneath. We remember the noise. I quit the forestry department a month later, but sometimes, when I can't sleep, I still hear that humming. Faint. Deep. Like something calling from under the floor. Last week I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single photo. It showed the shoreline of a lake at dusk. Standing at the edge was a woman, waist deep in the water, smiling. Riley. On the back of the photo, someone had written, "The lake remembers you too." If you ever find yourself near northern Maine and you hear that low hum at night, don't look at the water. Don't listen to the singing. And if you see your reflection move when you don't, Run. Because Pine Haven Lake doesn't drown people. It keeps them.